Are you ready for change?
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
You're listening to the Mr. Change Agent podcast with your host, Ron Ovitt, minister, pastoral counselor, teacher, recovery coach, and author. He's creator of Emotional Relearning. And we've been doing a series of podcasts, and today, Ron, this topic really makes me mad. I've had it. The topic today is anger.
Oh.
And something I know nothing of. But anyway, anger. We see it a lot. I don't know if it's more prevalent today than ever, but it's out there, and there's a lot of angry people. We're ready to listen. What is some of the things you're going to tell us about anger, Ron? I'm sure you're going to have some great insight.
Well, we're going to talk about some of the signs of anger, how we can get help, things like that. I was reading Quartz, which is this website, and they were talking about America's anger addiction. And I've often taught that a lot of times we get addicted to our own emotions. And anger can be one of those. I often ask people to stop and ask themselves, so what are you gaining from your behavior, right? There's a gain, and you can gain a lot with anger, right? Anger, what this Gene Kim, a psychiatrist for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, assistant professor at George Washington University, says this: anger is a public epidemic in America. It contaminates everything from media controversy to road rages to wars to mass shootings. And she says anger is addictive. It feels good and overrides moral and rational responses because it originates from our original limbic system, right? That what they call the lizard brain. And that's part of the brain that responds automatically and is directly connected to the fight or flight response. It controls adrenaline rushes and is fueled by anger. Outrage gives us an unhappy high, and that we try to replicate over and over. So there is somewhat of an addictive response to that. We become addicted to unhealthy emotions and perpetually chase the next angry high. And what I find is that what we do, too, is then start telling stories. We start telling stories. We start telling how we got angry, what happened, how we got mad. And pretty soon these stories they create a script, if you will. And it's almost predictive to how we're going to behave. And I challenge people a lot of times, change your story. Change your story. Listen to what you're saying. If you're talking about anger all the time, then maybe it's time to start talking about something else. Change that story. There's a time to anger, but then there's a time to stop.
I see that a lot. It's even in the scripture. There are certain characters in the Bible that they're almost bragging about the anger. It's the beating of the chest. It's, I did this and I did that, and you do that, I'm going to do this to you. And it's a puffing up. And some people find that there's power in anger. It gives them a power, and it can control things, and it puts them in charge. And that's a negative thing. So, Ron, what are some of the signs? What if I'm sitting? How do I know if I'm sitting on anger? What are some of the signs that we should look for?
Right. Okay. And it's important, going to what you were saying, the Bible says to be angry, but not to sin with the anger. There are times to be angry. Someone's hurting someone, that rush of anger comes and you try to save them, you try to protect them. There's injustice. We should be angry at some things, but then there's the wrong kind of anger, right? And anger out of pride or woundedness, that the senses that they want to go hurt people. And so we want to check those kinds. Violence has gone up. The number of violent victimizations, that is total number of times people experience violence, has risen from 5 million in 2015 up to 6.4 million in 2018. So there's a rise of these incidences of anger.
And Ron, you were mentioning, and I think I'll just talk about this a little bit. When Paul's talking about that anger, he says, be angry and sin not, let not the sun go down on your wrath. He's using a specific word, a very specific word. It's called orge. Jesus had that when Jesus went into the temple. Orge is that kind of under the surface. It lays there, and it's like, if this happens, I'm going to react. and you almost expect it in a way. I mean, it's like telling your child not to do something, and they do it, and you go, okay, stop. You know, not that you blow up, but you have response to it. And it's okay to have a response. Jesus saw these money changers ripping off all the people in the house of God. He had warned them before. He goes back, and there they are again. And he has an appropriate response. He gets angry, kicks them out, turns over the tables, etc. We're allowed to have justifiable emotions toward and a reaction toward something. But when he says, but sin not, and later in that passage he talks about the anger that becomes wrath. That's a whole different word. He's saying, no, you can't let that anger become wrath. Wrath is not acceptable. Rage is not acceptable. Anger in appropriate times, okay, that's acceptable, but get over it. But rage and dwelling on it and letting it seethe and just overreacting, that's not appropriate, and that's never warranted, and it's not biblical. Right,
exactly. So what are some of the signs? Well, there can be physical signs. I teach in our emotional resilience class that I have 3 ERs. One is the emotional recognition. We need to recognize when these things. So often we try to heal our anger after we blew up, right? Wouldn't it be better if we could see it's coming? And so we want to recognize emotions are sensations. I mean, the word emotion means to move. I mean, an emotion makes us move. It's a sensation comes in, triggers us, boom. And what we have later is feelings. I was really angry, but that initial comes from a sensation, so we need to recognize it, right? And it could be heart palpitations, a tightening of the chest. We can feel our blood pressure coming up into our face, right? Headaches. Boy, I'm sitting here on a headache. Pressure in our head or sinuses, so we can say, what am I sitting on? It might be anger, right? Or we're getting fatigued. Our mind is racing, and all of a sudden we're getting fatigued, and it could be that we're sitting on something that has got us stewing, right? Stewing, angry, and it's playing out in physiological signs here. And so we need to, then the second ER is emotional regulation. Let's regulate that then. And then the third one is emotional relearning, which, is a theory that we came up where we've learned so many things emotionally, we need to relearn them. I believe that people are against me. That was emotionally learned. I need to learn that, hey, God loves me and I have friends. I need to emotionally learn the truth there, right? And so there may be some other signs, irritability. I'm starting to get irritable. I'm really frustrated. I'm slamming things around. Hey, you're sitting on something here, right? That's that old verse too. Don't let the sun set on your wrath. Let's take care of it now while these symptoms are here. You mentioned rage. All of a sudden, boy, if that isn't a sign you're sitting on, and isn't it the case that a lot of times we're inappropriately angry at the wrong person, right? The old adage, you're mad at work, you come home, you kick the dog, right? Or unfortunately, you probably yell at the spouse or take it out on the children. That's the inappropriate place. And so we're doing it in a place we may feel safe, and it's coming out, like you said, in rage. And we need to say, whoa, what's going on? Or I'm feeling just overwhelmed. Or I'm feeling some guilt. Guilt can cause this. So if I can get any of these kinds of signals, then I can stop and ask myself. And if you don't have that ability to figure it out yourself, call someone. Call someone. If you have an issue that you're getting angry a lot, then get to a support group. And get some friends that have, a sponsor or someone that can help you and say, boy, I feel it coming on. This is something to work with. You can overcome this, but it takes work. And in a lot of cases, in domestic violence and things like that, you're talking an oversensitized amygdala here, and it takes time. It can take up to 6 months or more to really retrain yourself. So this is some serious stuff, and there's some great helps out there that you can have. And so get the help that you need.
So let's go over some of the different kinds of angers, Ron. We've talked on rage. We've talked on some of those. But are there specific or different types of anger that you're talking about?
Well, yeah, there's obviously, I think the obvious one's an outward hostile anger, right? We're acting out in anger, and that can be red in the face or using a loud voice or ranting and raving and verbal or physical damages, right, to property and other people. I mean, that's the obvious one, right? But then there's that inward passive anger, and there's, different types of inward passive anger. There's that buried anger. Repressed anger can cause depression. In fact, one definition of depression is called anger turned inward. And I found in my own life that I had that some. When I was really depressed, sometimes I would ask myself, what am I sitting on? What am I angry about? What am I frustrated? And so repressed anger can, that buried anger can cause depression, apathy, irritability, pessimism, anxiety, frequent outbursts. And this happens a lot, too, to people in the church. We're not supposed to be angry. You probably, when you were talking about Jesus in the temple, there's probably people out there saying, oh, no, wanting to disagree because we're not supposed to be angry, right? So we get this passive-aggressive. And, knowing that we medicate to regulate our emotions, the person could be a strong candidate for addictions too. So that's that buried anger. Then there's the self-harming anger. Another way of turning anger inward is using self-harm. This could be the obvious, such as inflicting pain upon yourself, or more subtle self-defeating behaviors such as missing work or skipping school, purposely alienating friends, or deliberately underperforming at work. In competitive situations or social experiences, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to participate, right? And we're pouting, we're doing, right? To others, it may look like you're intentionally sabotaging yourself. So these are signs again, right? And inside, you may not be aware of the severity. And so there's those kind of angers.
Okay, then how do I know if I need help? I mean, what are beyond that? I mean, when should I get up and say, hey, I need help?
Well, let me ask some questions, okay? Let's ask some questions, and you can answer. And I guess if you've got, if your answer to a lot of these is yes, then, I would say that maybe you need to get some help, okay? So let me ask some questions and see if you say yes or no. I'm frequently impatient if things don't go my way. Here again, frequently. If so, put yes, be honest, right? I get easily annoyed if someone doesn't do things the way I think they should. Yes or no? I've been told by others that I have an anger problem. Now, there's a sign, right? Yes, no. I've lashed out physically at someone. Now, here again, this may be your norm, and maybe you're not thinking it's, oh, I'm sorry, and you don't thinking. But, think about it. If you've been doing this, that's certainly an indicator that you're sitting on something, right? I've been so mad inside, and I feel depressed. Or I have damaged things because of my acting out when I was angry. How many holes do you have in the wall, right? How many things have you, And here again, it may be a temporary thing. But it's time to get help with that. It may be that it's just, you're sitting on something, changes in our life and things like that can cause these things. So there are solutions, but you need to go and work toward that. When I get angry, I've shut down and withdraw from others. Or maybe you've been reprimanded at work or at school for an altercation. Or have you hurt yourself in the past because of anger? Look at your hands. Are they all bruised because you hit something, you pounded on something? And, I often use my tone of voice or body posture and threats to get my way. Do you find yourself just, bullying your way more or less, getting your way? Or you're holding grievances and you ruminate them, and then you're thinking about it, and finally you go out and you try to get revenge. And so, that doesn't help. Or how about this? Are you overusing sarcasm and you've hurt people's feelings? Or maybe you use anger to solve problems. You got a problem, you wait until you last minute, and all of a sudden you get angry, and I'll go out there and fix it, and and anger is your motivation. How about this one? You get angry almost every day. Anger once in a while, but anger every day, and it could be. Don't be in denial. We did a whole podcast on denial. Don't be in denial. And how about I don't always act out, but I ruminate on what I want to do and I can't let it go? Well, that's a good reason to talk to someone about it. Man, we need counseling sometimes. It's not wrong to go get help. Or it's hard to calm down. Once I'm angry, that's it. I had a friend of mine come and he was thanking me for our classes, right? He comes to the emotional resilience and that. And he goes, what used to take me weeks to get over, I get over in hours now. And I thought, wow. And so, I put people in their place when they anger me. Or how about this one? I've embarrassed my family, friends, or work associates with my angry outbursts. And there's one. Or I don't have patience for people who rub me the wrong way. Maybe you're becoming more cynical. I've had it. Well, is that the fruit of the Spirit? Is that really the way? And, I get upset with machinery, plans, circumstances when they don't work my way. So that's some of the things that you can check off. And I'd say if you got 3 or 4 of those, let's work on it.
So what is it that I can do about my anger? If I said yes to a bunch of those, I know myself. I know I'm feeling that way. What can I do about it?
Well, get some medical assistance. Always good to start with your doctor. Could be there's some chemical imbalance going on here. Talk to your doctor. Could be some physical things that are happening that are causing this. There's a lot of things that can be wrong with the body that are causing this, right? Counseling. If your anger is significant, see a counselor. Go talk to your pastor. Who would be a good person you can talk to? Here again, they can look up our own class, Emotional Resilience, Living with the Fruit of the Spirit, and start taking some of the courses. Listen to our podcasts that we have on them. Use your faith. Trusting in God with your situation, using prayer and faith will help you deal with the anger. And then, it will help you get to a place where you can use the help, get the help that you need. Prayer and meditation, submitting yourself to God, giving your worries over to Him. And then there's, the physical things like deep breathing, right? Systematic relaxation. Turn off that amygdala by doing something. We have a whole program called Mind Skills that will help you. And they can listen to some of those on our YouTube channel that talk about some of these different things. And, of course, exercising is crucial, eating healthy, all those things. And then get to a support group. There are people that know and will help with this, and there's no sin in getting help, okay? A support group, you'll find help that you need there. And then please avoid addictions. If you're medicating to regulate your emotions, don't mix that. Don't mix substance with anger. Get some help and ask God to help you return to the fruit of the Spirit. Be resilient. The fruit of the Spirit is love and kindness and gentleness and peace and self-control. These are important things that you can return to. So those are some of the things we can do, but I encourage you to do some research and find some help that you can get on it. And may God bless you as you work on this very, very serious issue.
Thank you so much, Ron. I know that's resonated with me, and I'm sure many others. And so if you know someone that's dealing with anger issues, if it's not you, if you know someone, please get this podcast over to them. Let others know about it. You can find this and much more, as Ron said, on the YouTube channel, Mr. Change Agent. Just go to YouTube, punch in Mr. Change Agent, and the logo will come up, and you can go right to it. Or you can find more valuable information at either one of these websites, empowerforliving.com, empowerforliving.com, or mrchangeagent.com. Both of those will have resource pages for you to look at. So, many books available. Go to Amazon, just type in Ronald Ovitt, O-V-I-T-T. You'll find many books there. So thank you again for joining us. Tell others about these podcasts. Have them subscribe to them. You can find it on Podbean and the iTunes channel. So thank you again. You've been listening to Mr. Change Agent Podcast.